Hey guys, it's Pastor Rachel. I'm doing today's Daily Soap, and we are looking at Luke 3 and 4. And in these two chapters, there's one story that jumped out at me, and it's about Jesus being rejected in Nazareth. Nazareth is the town where Jesus was born, grew up. So there he is preaching in the synagogues, and things are going well, and someone goes, "Isn't that Joseph's kid?" And things kind of spiraled out of control from that moment, where it ended with an entire angry mob bringing Jesus to a cliff for him to jump off of. They had completely rejected him as a person and as a teacher and as an authority figure. And what I love about this is, while this angry mob is going to this cliff, Jesus just casually walks the opposite direction through the crowd. It just reminded me of how little rejection matters to Jesus. Because he is completely secure in who he is. And because he handles rejection that way, we also get to handle rejection that way. Unfortunately, that is so much easier said than done. When people come at us for things that are serious or even things that aren't serious, it really throws us through a loop. We question our characters, our ability, our value. Being rejected is really, really tricky. But my encouragement to anyone listening who is in the midst of being rejected, dealing with people not wanting them or criticizing them and all of those different things, I just want to encourage you to lean into Jesus and trust that he is good enough to walk you through the situation and to endure being ridiculed and criticized. Jesus is big enough for that. But to my friends, which is probably all of us out there who are criticizing, stop it. Especially Christians, when we nitpick people, when we hold them to a higher standard than Jesus does, when we gossip about them, when we decide we don't like something, we are making it harder for that person to encounter God, because we are saying, if God's people treat you this way, maybe God treats you this way. And that is a really dangerous place to be when it comes to your effectiveness and your witness. So that's my encouragement for you guys. Don't be someone who's actively rejecting the people in God's kingdom, and even the people outside of God's kingdom. But it seems like we usually have more grace for people who aren't in relationship with Jesus than we do people who are. So I just want to invite you guys to be better, to ask God what he is trying to do in situations and in people's lives, and then partner with him instead of decide what you think God should do in someone's life or what he should change in someone else's life. And maybe just look at your own life. I really think that probably the best standard when we feel like rejecting or criticizing someone is asking God for 3 things that we can grow in before we go and fix the other things in other people's lives. And just one other interesting thing, the whole situation spiraled in Jesus' story when someone was like, "Isn't this Joseph's kid?" And what I mean is, it sounds like they were viewing Jesus still as a kid, just some guy who they knew since he was like this big, and didn't recognize that he had power, authority, and influence to lead, because the people who knew him when he didn't have those things assumed that he still just didn't have them. So lean into Jesus. Don't reject people. Understand that that's Jesus' job and not yours, and expect people to grow. Call out the potential in them. Jesus, thank you so much that we can handle rejection because you handled rejection. Help us to lean into you when we start to doubt things about ourselves, because people have put thoughts in our mind through rejection and through criticism. Help us to be people who aren't constantly rejecting, criticizing, and holding people to our own standard. And would you help us to call out the potential in the people that we are with, the people that we get to invest in. Help us to inspire growth instead of limit their abilities. Amen. See you, friends.